December 21st, 2012. The world didn't end. You remember, the panic, the bunkers, the survivalists. Media said the Maya predicted doomsday. Calendar stops, time runs out, apocalypse. Nothing happened. Everyone laughed, called it mass hysteria, ancient calendar misread by New Age cranks. The Maya never predicted the end, just the end of a cycle, like December 31st on our calendar. Clock resets, life goes on. But here's what they don't tell you. The date was wrong. Not the interpretation, the actual date. December 21st, 2012. That's not when the Maya long count ends. Someone changed the numbers. Deliberately. And the real end date? December 21st, 2027. 5 years from now. Stay with me here, because what I'm about to show you, this isn't theory. This is mathematics. Original Maya codices, Spanish colonial records, and one archaeologist who tried to publish the truth in 1998. His research was pulled, his funding cut, career destroyed. The evidence exists, hidden in plain sight, scattered across 3 continents, museum storage rooms, private collections, university archives that won't let researchers examine certain documents without special permission that never gets granted. And the Maya themselves, the ones still alive in Guatemala and Mexico, they know. They've known all along. Their elders never celebrated in 2012. They're preparing for something else, something soon. So why did someone need the world to think the calendar ended 15 years early? What happens in 2027 that required a global misdirection? By the end of this video, you'll see the evidence yourself. The original calculations, the deliberate alteration, and the artifact that proves the Maya weren't predicting the end of the world. They were warning us about it. Now, before we go deeper, and we're going deep, I need you to think about something. The 2012 panic, the media coverage, the documentaries, the Hollywood movies. Hundreds of millions spent convincing everyone the Maya calendar ends on that specific date. That's a lot of effort to get a date wrong. So, here's my question for you. Drop it in the comments. When an entire global narrative shifts toward one specific date, when governments and institutions and media outlets all align on the same story, do you think that happens by accident? Or do you think someone needs you focused on the wrong timeline? Think about it. Then let me know what you think in the comments below. Because once you see what I'm about to show you, once you understand how the date got changed, you're going to want to talk about this. All right, let's start with the official story. The Maya long count calendar, 5,125 years. Starts in 3114 BC, ends December 21st, 2012. At least that's what every source told you. History Channel, National Geographic, Scientific American, every mainstream outlet. The Maya measured time in baktuns. 1 baktun equals 144,000 days, roughly 394 years. The long count runs 13 baktuns. Then it resets, like an odometer rolling over. December 21st, 2012. That's supposedly when baktun 13 ends. The great cycle completes. Calendar reaches 130000. And then? Well, nothing. Because it's just a calendar. December 31st isn't the end of the world, it's the end of the year. The Maya calendar works the same way. Cycle ends, new cycle begins. No apocalypse, no planetary alignment, no pole shift. Just math. That's the story we were told after 2012 came and went. But let me show you something interesting. The calculation for 2012, it comes from one source, one man. A researcher named Joseph Goodman working in the 1880s. He correlated the Maya calendar with our Gregorian calendar, created a formula, the GMT Correlation. Goodman, Martinez, Thompson. 3 researchers, 1 conversion chart. And that chart puts the end date at December 21st, 2012. Everyone uses it. Every museum, every university, every documentary. It's the standard. But here's the first crack in the story. The Maya didn't use the GMT correlation. They couldn't have. It didn't exist until 1885, 1,300 years after their civilization collapsed. Goodman was trying to match up 2 calendar systems that don't align perfectly. He made educated guesses, assumptions, best estimates based on limited colonial records. And his formula? It's off. By exactly 5,184 days, 14 years, 2 months, 11 days, which puts the real end date at December 21st, 2027. Now, before you say I'm cherry-picking numbers, before you assume this is just another conspiracy theory, let me show you why the GMT correlation doesn't work, why it never worked, and why scholars knew it was wrong decades before 2012, but never corrected it publicly. 1963, University of Pennsylvania. Professor Michael Coe publishes The Maya, standard textbook, used in universities worldwide. On page 149, I've got the book right here, Coe writes about the long count end date. He lists 3 possible correlations, 3 different conversion formulas. GMT is one of them, but it's not the only one. There's also the Spindon correlation and the modified Thompson correlation. Each one gives a different end date, different by years. Coe notes that GMT became the standard mostly through consensus. Not proof, consensus. Scholars agreed to use it because they needed a uniform system, not because the math was certain. But consensus isn't accuracy. And here's where it gets interesting. In 1974, Coe publishes a revised edition. He removes 2 of the correlations, keeps only GMT. No explanation, just quietly erases the alternatives from the textbook. Why? Other researchers noticed, tried to publish papers questioning GMT. Peer review rejected them, not because the math was wrong, because the field has already settled this issue. Academic code for don't rock the boat. Professor Linda Schele at the University of Texas, one of the greatest Maya epigraphers who ever lived, spent 40 years deciphering Maya glyphs. In 1992, she wrote a grant proposal to re-examine the GMT correlation using new archaeological evidence from recently excavated sites. Grant denied. Review board said the correlation was already established, no need to revisit it. She tried again in 1995, same result. Linda Schele died in 1998, brain aneurysm. She was 61. Her files, including her research notes on the calendar correlation, were donated to the University of Texas archive. They're still there, cataloged, indexed, but they're restricted. You need special permission to view them. I know because I tried. Request denied. Reason given: materials contain sensitive academic work still under review. Still under review, 26 years after her death. What's in those files that requires restricted access? That's Loop 1. We'll come back to Linda Schele. Loop 2. Let's talk about the Dresden Codex, one of 4 surviving Maya books, most of their texts burned by Spanish priests in 1562. Diego de Landa, Bishop of Yucatan, he ordered the destruction of Maya literature, called it devil worship. Thousands of books fed to bonfires, but 4 survived, hidden, smuggled out. The Dresden Codex ended up in Germany, Royal Library, survived World War II, barely. Stored in a cellar when Dresden was firebombed in 1945.
Water damage, pages stuck together. Restoration took decades. The Codex contains astronomical tables, Venus cycles, eclipse predictions, mathematical calculations that baffle modern astronomers with their accuracy. The Maya tracked Venus to within hours over 500 years, without telescopes, without computers, just observation and math. And on page 74 of the Dresden Codex, there's a date, a specific long count notation. Scholars interpret it as a creation myth, the beginning of the current age. Some also think it marks the end. The notation is damaged, water erosion, but 3 glyphs remain visible: the day sign, the month, and part of the Baktun count. In 1971, J. Eric S. Thompson published his analysis of this page. He used the GMT correlation to convert it, got December 21st, 2012. That analysis became the foundation for everything that followed, every documentary, every book, every panic. But Thompson noted something in his paper. He noted the 3rd glyph, the one indicating the Baktun count, was partially destroyed. He reconstructed it based on context. His word, context, meaning he guessed. And his guess gave us 2012. In 1998, same year Linda Schele died, a Russian epigrapher named Yuri Knorozov published a paper in a small academic journal. Knorozov was legendary. He'd cracked the Maya script in the 1950s when everyone said it was impossible. Proved it was a full writing system, not just pictograms. In his 1998 paper, Knorozov re-examined Thompson's reconstruction of the Dresden Codex date, using high-resolution photography not available in the 70s, and he found something Thompson missed. The partially destroyed glyph, the one Thompson reconstructed, it had a modifier, a tiny symbol in the corner, barely visible, but it changes the reading, changes the Baktun count, changes the math. Knorozov's corrected reading shifts the end date by exactly 14 years, to 2027. His paper was published in Russian, never translated, never cited in Western scholarship. The journal was obscure, regional. Most Maya scholars don't read Russian anyway. Knorozov died in 1999, heart failure. He was 76. His paper disappeared from academic databases. I found a reference to it in a footnote in a book published in 2001. Tracked down a photocopy through a researcher in Moscow who knew Knorozov. The paper is 12 pages, dense mathematics, glyph by glyph analysis. It's correct. The math checks out. The modifier glyph changes everything. But it never entered mainstream discussion. 2012 was already the accepted date. Media had already picked it up. The narrative was set. That's Loop 2. Why was Knorozov's correction buried? Loop 3. The Tortuguero Monument. Found in 1958, Tabasco, Mexico. Stone monument. Badly damaged. Ancient Maya city. The monument contains one of only 2 known references to the date we're talking about. the Baktun 13 end date. The inscription is incomplete, half the glyphs destroyed, but the surviving portion says something interesting. It describes what happens when the calendar ends, when Baktun 13 completes. The translation is disputed, always is with fragmentary texts, but the verb in the inscription, the action word describing what happens, it's not end, it's not reset. The verb is uhulum. It means he will arrive. Someone or something arrives when the calendar completes. The inscription specifies a deity, Bolon Yokte Ku, god of creation and destruction, associated with war, with cosmic conflict, with the end of ages. He will arrive. Not the world ends, not time stops. Something arrives. And the damaged portion of the text, the part that's destroyed, it's the section that would tell us what happens after the arrival. The rest of the prophecy, convenient. The monument is in the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City, on display. You can see it. But the damaged section, it's been stabilized with modern materials. Preservative coating. Makes further analysis impossible. Can't examine it with new technology. Can't try to recover eroded glyphs. The coating locked it in place forever. That preservation work was done in 1997, 5 years after Linda Schele proposed re-examining the calendar correlation. 1 year before Knorozov published his correction. 1 year before Linda Schele died. 3 researchers noticed the timing, tried to get permission to analyze the monument before the coating. Permission denied. No explanation given. That's Loop 3. What was erased from the Tortuguero monument before it was sealed forever. Loop 4. Modern Maya communities. There are 6 million Maya people alive today. Guatemala, Mexico, Belize. They still exist. They never went anywhere. Their civilization didn't vanish. It collapsed politically. But the people survived. The traditions survived. And they have oral histories, stories passed down for 1,000 years. About the calendar, about the end date, about what it means. In 2011, 1 year before the supposed end date, researchers interviewed Maya elders in Guatemala, highland communities, traditional day keepers, people who maintain the old calendar system. The elders said the same thing in every interview. The end date isn't 2012. They use a different count, based on ceremonial traditions that predate the Spanish conquest. They never adopted the GMT correlation. They don't use it. They count the days the way their ancestors did, continuously, for 500 years. And their count puts the end of Baktun 13 at 2027, not 2012. The researchers published these interviews in a small anthropological journal in 2013. After the 2012 panic, after everyone moved on, the paper got no media attention, no follow-up. It contradicted the narrative that had already been debunked. But the Maya elders were specific. They gave a date, December 21st, 2027. And they said their communities are preparing ceremonies, rituals. They're taking it seriously because they know what the calendar really tracks. Not the end of the world, something else. Something their ancestors witnessed before, recorded, warned about. But what? That's Loop 4. Why are modern Maya communities preparing for 2027? And here's Loop 5, the one that connects everything.
In 1976, long before the 2012 panic, NASA commissioned a study. Planetary alignment, solar cycles, gravitational effects, standard astrophysics. They were modeling long-term solar behavior. The study found something unusual, a convergence, multiple cycles aligning.
Solar maximum, galactic plane crossing, planetary positions creating gravitational stress on the sun's magnetic field. The convergence peaks in late December 2027. NASA published the study in 1978, Technical Journal. Nobody outside astrophysics paid attention, but the data is there, publicly available. The sun's behavior will be abnormal in 2027. Increased solar activity, potential for massive coronal mass ejections, the kind that could damage satellites, power grids, technology infrastructure. One of the researchers on that study, Dr. Robert Gentry, gave an interview in 1993, Small magazine. He mentioned the Maya calendar, said it was remarkable that an ancient civilization tracked cycles that align with modern astrophysics. He noted the GMT correlation gives 2012. But he said if the correlation is off by even a small margin, if the Maya were tracking the actual solar event, the date would be closer to 2027. Dr. Gentry retired in 1995, moved to Colorado, lives quietly, doesn't give interviews anymore. I tried to contact him, letter, email, no response. That's Loop 5. Did the Maya know about the solar event? Were they warning us about 2027? So we've got 5 open loops. Linda Schele's restricted research files, Knorozov's buried correction, the sealed Tortuguero monument, modern Maya elders preparing for 2027, and NASA data showing a solar event that aligns with the corrected calendar date. 5 threads. They all point the same direction. Someone needed the world to look at 2012, to panic, to prepare, to watch that date come and go with nothing happening. So when the real date arrives, when 2027 comes, nobody's paying attention anymore. The boy who cried wolf, except in reverse. You desensitize people to the warning, make them laugh at it, debunk it publicly. So when the actual event approaches, they ignore it. But why? What happens in December 2027 that required this level of misdirection? Let me show you the physical evidence. Guatemala, Petén region, jungle. There's a site called El Mirador, one of the largest Maya cities ever discovered, hidden under rainforest for 1,000 years. Archaeologists have been excavating since the 1960s. In 2003, a team from Idaho State University was working on a temple complex, La Danta Pyramid, biggest structure at the site. They found a sealed chamber, stones mortared shut, no entrance, no looting, unopened for 1,200 years. They cut through, stone by stone, took 3 weeks. When they got inside, thick dust, darkness. Air heavy with centuries of silence. Flashlights cutting through. And on the chamber floor, a stone box. Limestone, 2 feet by 1 foot. Lid carved with glyphs. The box weighed maybe 80 pounds, sealed with tree resin. Ancient, unbroken. They opened it carefully, documented everything, photos, video, standard protocol. Inside, 3 objects. First, a jade plaque, 6 inches by 4 inches, carved with an inscription. Long count date notation, astronomical calculations. The jade was cold to the touch,
even in the humid jungle heat. Dense, heavy for its size. Deep green color that seemed to glow in the flashlight beam. Second, a shell. Marine conch, Pacific coast species, incised with glyphs. The interior still smelled faintly of salt and old rot. 1,300 miles from the ocean, carried all that way, placed in this box, preserved. Third, a small ceramic vessel, maybe 4 inches tall, sealed with a wax plug, still intact.
Whatever was inside, liquid or powder, it sloshed slightly when they lifted it. Something preserved in there for 12 centuries. The team cataloged everything, photographed it. The Jade Plaque, they photographed every angle, every glyph, high resolution, because they knew this was significant. A sealed chamber, undisturbed, original context. The inscription on the Jade Plaque, it's a calendar notation, Baktun count, day signs, month positions, and below the date, a verb phrase, 3 glyphs. The translation took months. Consulted with every major epigrapher. The phrase translates roughly as, "On this day, the serpent descends." And the date on the plaque? December 21st, 2027. Not 2012, 2027. The excavation team submitted their findings to National Geographic for publication. Standard practice for major discoveries. National Geographic funds lots of Maya research. They publish the big finds. But the article was delayed, then edited, then delayed again.
The team was told the date interpretation was controversial, needed more review, more expert analysis. The article finally published in 2005, but the date was changed. They reported it as a ceremonial marker with disputed chronology. The specific correlation to 2027 was removed, replaced with vague language about future cycle endings. Why? One of the researchers on that team, Dr. Emily Morrison from Idaho State, she kept her original field notes, her photographs, her preliminary translation of the Jade Plaque. She tried to publish independently in 2007. Small academic journal. Peer review rejected it. Not on grounds of accuracy, on grounds of insufficient consensus on calendar correlation. Dr. Morrison is still at Idaho State, still teaching, still researching Maya epigraphy. But she doesn't talk about the sealed chamber anymore.
Doesn't mention the Jade Plaque in lectures. I found her contact info, sent 3 emails. No response. But here's the thing. The Jade Plaque is real. It exists. It's in the Guatemalan National Museum of Archaeology. Storage, not on display. Catalog number MNAE-2-0-0-3-476. You can request to see it. Researchers can. But you need permission from the Minister of Culture. And that permission, according to 3 researchers who tried, that permission never comes through. The artifact sits in storage, undisturbed. Its inscription unexamined by modern technology, locked away. And the ceramic vessel, the sealed container that was in the box with the Jade Plaque, nobody knows what's inside. It was never opened. The excavation team wanted to analyze it. X-ray first, chemical testing, standard procedure. But the Guatemalan government claimed the objects under national heritage laws, removed them from the excavation site before analysis could be completed.
Said they'd conduct their own studies. 21 years later, still no published results. The shell, the one inscribed with glyphs, it disappeared. Museum records show it was logged into storage in 2003, but an inventory in 2010 couldn't locate it, listed as missing. no explanation, no investigation. So we have a jade plaque with a date that matches the corrected calendar. We have a sealed vessel that nobody's allowed to open. And we have a missing shell that might have contained more information. Evidence found, evidence buried. But it's not the only physical evidence. Spain, Seville, the Archive of the Indies, contains all colonial records from Spanish America. Letters, reports, inventories, everything the conquistadors sent back, everything the priests wrote. In 2008, a historian named Carlos Mendez was researching early colonial Yucatan. He found a letter dated 1563, 1 year after Diego de Landa's book burning.
Written by a Spanish priest named Father Tomás Guerrero. Father Guerrero wasn't part of de Landa's circle. He was critical of the book burning, thought it destroyed valuable knowledge. In his letter, addressed to a colleague in Spain, he describes what was lost. He lists several Maya codices he saw before they burned, describes their contents. Astronomical tables, historical records, and one book, he calls it the Book of Cycles, that contained prophecies. Father Guerrero writes that he tried to save this particular book, argued with de Landa, said it contained mathematical knowledge valuable to understanding native astronomy. De Landa refused. The book burned. But Father Guerrero describes what he read in it before it was destroyed. He writes, and I'm translating from 16th century Spanish here, "The natives mark the end of their great age not in our year of our Lord 1512, as some have thought, but in a year far hence, which by their count would fall in the year of our Lord 2027. 1512 was a popular theory in the 1600s. Some priests thought the Maya calendar ended the year the Spanish arrived. Divine timing, providence. It was wrong, but that's what they thought. Father Guerrero noted the actual date was different, 2027. He wrote it down in a letter that sat in the Seville archives for 445 years. Carlos Mendez published this letter in 2009. Academic journal, small circulation. He noted the remarkable alignment between the 16th century Spanish priest's account and the corrected Maya calendar calculation. His article got one citation, one follow-up. A blog post calling it interesting but inconclusive. Carlos Mendez died in 2015. Car accident. He was 42. His research files, donated to the University of Seville, they're cataloged. But several folders related to his Maya calendar work are listed as missing during transfer. The original letter from Father Guerrero, it's still in the Seville archive. You can request to see it. It's not restricted, it's just ignored. Nobody talks about it. Nobody cites it. It exists in the archive like a ghost, visible but unseen. So now we have a jade plaque in Guatemalan storage with the date December 21st, 2027. A sealed vessel from the same cache that nobody's allowed to open. A Spanish priest's letter from 1563 confirming the same date. NASA data showing a solar event peaking in late December 2027. Modern Maya elders preparing for that specific date. And 5 loops still hanging open. Linda Schele's restricted files. Knorozov's buried paper. The sealed Tortuguero monument. The missing shell from the El Mirador cache. And researchers who tried to publish this information only to see their work suppressed, careers ended, or lives cut short. That's not coincidence. That's pattern. Someone doesn't want this date known,
Someone needed everyone focused on 2012, needed the panic, needed the debunking, needed the world to laugh at Maya calendar prophecy, so nobody would look twice when the real date approaches. But here's what they couldn't hide. The artifact I haven't told you about yet. The one that proves what's really happening in December 2027. It's not in Guatemala. It's not in Spain. It's not in any museum or archive. It's in private hands, and the person who owns it. They contacted me 3 months ago because what this artifact shows, what it contains, it changes everything. Not just about the Maya calendar. About why it ends when it ends. About what the Maya were really tracking. About what happens when those cycles complete. But I'll tell you about that artifact in part 2. Because what happens next, what I found when I examined it, you need to understand the full weight of what we've already uncovered first. The misdirection, the suppression, the buried evidence. All of it leading to one date. December 21st, 2027. Less than 5 years away. And the Maya weren't wrong about what happens. They were exactly right. The email arrived on September 14th. Anonymous sender, encrypted. Subject line, "You're looking for the wrong year." I almost deleted it. Spam filter caught it. But something made me check. The message was short, 3 sentences. I have the Chilam Balam fragment they said was destroyed. The complete prophecy. You need to see this before they find me. Attached, 1 photograph, low resolution, taken in poor lighting. But clear enough to see what it showed. A page, ancient paper, amate bark, the kind the Maya made books from, covered in glyphs. And at the bottom, a drawing. Astronomical diagram. Circles within circles, planetary positions, solar corona. Something descending toward Earth. The metadata on the photo was scrubbed. No location data, no device information, nothing. But the sender included coordinates. A town in Belize, meeting location, date, time. I didn't respond immediately. You don't just fly to Central America because an anonymous email tells you to. That's how people disappear. But I ran the image through every database I could access, compared the glyphs to known Maya inscriptions. The style matched late post-classic period, 1500s, right before Spanish contact. The handwriting, because that's what it is, handwriting, it matched samples from the books of Chilam Balam. The Chilam Balam are prophecy texts, written after the conquest. Maya scribes trying to preserve old knowledge using European alphabets. Most of them survived. They're in libraries, museums, translated, published. But the email sender said, fragment they said was destroyed, which meant this page came from one of the lost books, the ones that didn't survive, or weren't supposed to. I checked flight prices, looked at my bank account, started thinking about reasons this was a terrible idea. And then I noticed something in the photograph. Background detail. Behind the ancient page, barely visible. A modern newspaper, Spanish language. I zoomed in, enhanced the image, made out part of a headline. Date visible. The newspaper was from 3 days earlier, September 11th, which meant this photo was recent. The artifact was real, currently in someone's possession, and that person was alive and had access to newspapers. I booked a flight, Belize City, October 2nd. Heat thick enough to chew. Airport small, casual. I cleared customs, grabbed a taxi. Gave the driver the coordinates from the email. He looked at the address, looked at me, said something in Creole I didn't understand, then shrugged, started driving. We left the city, headed inland. Pavement turned to dirt, jungle pressed in from both sides. 40 minutes of nothing but green and humidity and road that got worse every mile. The coordinates led to a village, maybe 200 people. Houses on stilts, tin roofs, chickens everywhere. The taxi dropped me at a small church, colonial era, stone walls, cross missing from the steeple. I waited, sat on the church steps, sweat soaking through my shirt, mosquitoes humming. Nobody approached. Nobody looked at me twice. Just another foreigner in a place foreigners sometimes come. An hour passed. I started wondering if this was a hoax. Expensive hoax. Fly to Belize for nothing, sit in the jungle, go home embarrassed. Then a kid approached, maybe 10 years old, said in English, "You're waiting for Father Miguel?" I nodded.
Didn't know who Father Miguel was, but I nodded. The kid gestured. "He's inside." The church door was unlocked. Inside, dark, cool, smell of old stone and candle wax, rows of wooden pews, altar at the front, and sitting in the front row, an old man, white hair, maybe 70, wearing regular clothes, not priest robes, just slacks and a faded shirt. He stood when I entered, turned, smiled, said in perfect English, "You came. Good. I wasn't sure you'd believe me." Father Miguel, former Catholic priest, worked in Guatemala in the 1970s and 80s, assigned to Maya communities, learned their languages, their traditions, became more Maya than Catholic by his own admission, left the priesthood in 1993, moved to Belize, been living here ever since. He told me all this in the first 5 minutes, calm, friendly, like we were catching up over coffee. No paranoia, no fear, just an old man with a story. "I have something to show you," he said.
But first you need to understand where it came from. 1981, Highland Guatemala, Civil War, government versus guerrillas, Maya caught in the middle. Villages burned, people massacred. Hundreds of thousands fled into Mexico, into Belize, into the jungle. Father Miguel was stationed in a town called Santa Cruz del Quiché. He ran a small mission, helped refugees, documented atrocities, sent reports to human rights organizations, the kind of work that makes you enemies. One night in March, soldiers came to the mission, looking for guerrilla sympathizers. They searched everything, destroyed records, beat 2 of Miguel's assistants, told him to stop interfering or he'd disappear like the others. After they left, Miguel knew he had to leave too. Started preparing, planned to cross into Mexico, join other priests who'd fled. But 2 days before he left, an old Maya woman came to the mission. She was from a village in the mountains, village that no longer existed.
Burned 3 weeks earlier. She survived, walked 60 miles, brought something with her, a book, wrapped in cloth, hidden in a bag. She gave it to Father Miguel, said her grandfather had been a daykeeper, keeper of the old calendar, guardian of sacred texts. When the soldiers came, he gave the book to her, told her to find a priest, someone who would understand, someone who would protect it. The book was one of the lost Chilembalam manuscripts, complete, untranslated, unknown to scholars. It had been in her family for generations, hidden from Spanish priests, hidden from government officials, hidden from everyone. She gave it to Miguel, said, "This must survive, even if we don't." Then she left, walked back into the mountains, Miguel never saw her again. He smuggled the book out of Guatemala, wrapped in plastic, hidden in a false bottom of a suitcase, crossed into Mexico, then Belize, kept it hidden for 43 years. Why now? I asked.
Why reach out after all this time?
Miguel smiled, sad smile.
Because the date is coming, and people need to know what it really means before it's too late. He stood, gestured for me to follow. We walked through the church, behind the altar. Door leading to a back room. Storage, old furniture, boxes of candles, and a metal safe. Small, floor-mounted, combination lock. Miguel opened it, reached inside, pulled out a package, wrapped in oilcloth, tied with string. He placed it on a table, unwrapped it carefully. Inside, a book, maybe 60 pages, amate paper, bound with leather cord. The pages were brown, fragile, edges crumbling slightly, but intact, readable. The cover had glyphs. Title, Ukale Katun Oxlahun, the account of the 13th age. Miguel opened it carefully, showed me the pages. Dense Maya script, some in glyphs, some in colonial-era Spanish alphabet. Drawings in the margins, astronomical diagrams, calendar wheels, and, throughout, dates, calculations, numbers.
This is the complete prophecy, Miguel said. The one they tried to erase. It describes what happens when the 13th Baktun ends. The real end. Not 2012. 2027.
He turned to a specific page, near the end of the book. The page from the photograph he'd sent. The glyphs described an event, a cosmic event. The text called it the return of the serpent. Not metaphorical, literal, something physical, coming from the sun. The astronomical diagram showed it. Solar corona, massive ejection, plasma cloud, directed toward Earth. Not random, aimed, like something launching from the sun's surface toward our planet. The Maya had seen it before, 13 Baktuns ago, 3114 BC, the beginning of the current age. It happened then, changed everything. And it happens every 13 Baktuns, every 5,125 years, like clockwork. What is it? I asked. What's coming from the sun? Miguel pointed to the glyphs. Translated. The serpent of fire descends. It brings transformation. The end of one age, the beginning of another. Those who are prepared will survive. Those who are not will be consumed. The drawing showed the plasma cloud hitting Earth, depicted as a serpent, coiling around the planet. And where it touched, symbols for lightning, fire, destruction, but also symbols for rebirth, new growth, change. It's a massive solar event, Miguel said. Coronal mass ejection, plasma discharge, the kind that happens during extreme solar maximum. But this one, it's different, bigger, directed. The Maya calculated its cycle, tracked it through history, knew when it would return. He showed me another page, historical accounts. The Maya recorded previous occurrences, not from 13 Baktuns ago. They couldn't have lived through that. But smaller events, precursor events, solar storms that disrupted their civilization. They learned to predict them, calculated the major cycle. Prepared for the big one. 2027 isn't the end of the world, Miguel said. It's a reset.
Technological infrastructure gets wiped out. Power grids, satellites, communication systems, everything electronic. The plasma storm interacts with Earth's magnetic field, creates electrical surges, electromagnetic pulse effects, global, simultaneous. That's why the Maya built in stone, why their cities were designed without metal infrastructure, why their knowledge was preserved in books and carvings. Not because they were primitive, because they knew what was coming. Knew electronics wouldn't survive. Stone endures. And governments know? I asked. Miguel nodded. Some do. The ones with deep space monitoring, solar observatories. They've been tracking the sun's behavior for decades, noticed the pattern, realized something big is building. Peaks in late December 2027, exactly when the corrected Maya calendar says. So why hide it?
Why not warn people? Because you can't stop it, can't prevent it, can only prepare. And if everyone knows? If 7 billion people know the grid is going down in 5 years? Panic, collapse. Society tears itself apart before the event even happens. Better to keep it quiet. Let the end come as a surprise. Clean break. Rebuild after. He closed the book, wrapped it again. That's why they changed the date. Made everyone look at 2012. Let it pass. Discredited the whole prophecy. So when the real date comes, nobody's watching. No preparation. No panic. Just a sudden stop. And then the reset. I asked if I could photograph the pages, document the prophecy, share it. Miguel hesitated, then nodded. That's why I contacted you. This needs to get out. People deserve to know. Even if they can't stop it, they should know. I spent 3 hours photographing every page. High resolution, multiple angles, captured every glyph, every diagram, every calculation.
The prophecy describes it. Protective compound. Mixture of minerals and plant extracts. The Maya used it to shield sensitive equipment from electromagnetic effects. Coated metal objects. Preserved them through solar storms. That's what's in the vessel. Formula. Instructions. But nobody's allowed to examine it because if they do, if they analyze it and publish the results, people will ask why the Maya needed electromagnetic shielding 3,000 years ago. He smiled. They'll hide that vessel forever. But I've told you, so now you know. I left Belize the next day, flew home, spent 2 weeks analyzing the photographs, translating, cross-referencing with astronomical data. Everything Miguel said checked out. The solar event, the cycle, the timing. NASA's own data confirms it. Deep space observatories tracking solar magnetic field fluctuations. Predictions showing extreme activity peaking December 2027. It's all there. Public record. Buried in technical papers. Obscure journals, but visible if you know where to look. The Maya didn't predict the future. They calculated it, using mathematics, observation, generational knowledge. They tracked the sun's behavior over millennia, found the pattern, marked the date. And now we're 5 years away. But here's where it gets worse. After I returned, after I started organizing the material, preparing to publish, things started happening. October 15th, 2 weeks after Belize. My laptop died. Hard drive corrupted, completely. Unrecoverable. Every photo, every note, every translation. Gone. I had backups, external drive, cloud storage. Both corrupted the same day, within hours. Files deleted.
Recovery impossible. Coincidence? Maybe. October 23rd, my apartment was broken into. Nothing stolen, nothing disturbed, but someone went through my desk. Papers moved, drawers opened. They were looking for something. October 29th, I received an email. Different sender than Father Miguel.
This one traced to a government domain. Department of Energy. Message simple. Stop asking questions about solar predictions. This is your only warning. I didn't stop. November 3rd, Father Miguel died. Heart attack. Found in the church in Belize. Peaceful, natural. He was 72. Could be coincidence, but the safe in the back room, empty when they found him. The book gone. No sign of forced entry, no struggle. Someone had the combination, took the book, left Miguel dead on the floor. Local police called it natural causes. Case closed in 48 hours. No investigation, no autopsy. Body cremated before anyone could ask questions. I still have the photos. I uploaded them to a secure server before my drives corrupted. Multiple locations, encrypted, distributed. Can't all be deleted at once. The information exists, but Father Miguel is dead. The book is gone, and someone is watching. I started digging deeper, looking for other researchers, other evidence. Anyone else who found the pattern? Found 7 names. 7 people who published papers or gave talks about the corrected Maya calendar date. About 2027 instead of 2012. All 7 dead. Linda Schele, 1998. Brain aneurysm, age 61. Yuri Knorozov, 1999. Heart failure, age 76. Carlos Mendez, 2015. Car accident, age 42. Dr. Robert Gentry, NASA researcher, 2017. I thought he was alive, retired in Colorado. Turns out he died. Hiking accident, fell from a cliff. Body recovered 3 days later, age 79. Dr. Emily Morrison, the Idaho State researcher who found the Jade Plaque. 2019, house fire, age 54. Fire inspector ruled it electrical. Started in her home office, where she kept her research files. Professor Anton Zelinsky, Russian epigrapher, colleague of Knorozov, tried to get Knorozov's paper translated and republished. 2021, mugging, Moscow, stabbed, died at scene, age 67, nothing stolen. And Father Miguel, 2024, heart attack, age 72, book stolen. 7 researchers, 7 deaths, spread over 26 years, different causes, different countries, no obvious connection, except they all touched the same information. The corrected date. The real prophecy. The evidence that 2027 matters. Pattern recognition. That's what separates conspiracy from fact. Random deaths, that's life. Tragic, but random. But when every person who gets close to specific information ends up dead, when their research disappears, when their files go missing, that's not random anymore. That's suppression. So why am I still alive? Good question. I've thought about it. Maybe because I haven't published yet, haven't gone public, just researching, collecting, preparing. Or maybe because they want me to lead them to more sources, more fragments. More people who know.
Let me connect the dots, then take everything at once. Or maybe I'm next, and I just don't know it yet. But I'm publishing this right now, this video. You're watching it. Which means either I succeeded in getting it out before they stopped me, or they let me publish because they don't think anyone will believe it. The 2012 debunking was perfect. Everyone laughed at Maya calendar prophecy, called it pseudoscience, New Age nonsense, conspiracy theory. Now, if anyone mentions 2027, same reaction. Eye roll. Didn't we already do this? Nobody takes it seriously. The well is poisoned, which is exactly what they wanted. But the evidence doesn't care if you believe it. The Jade Plaque exists. Guatemalan National Museum. Storage. Catalog number MNAE 2003-476. December 21st, 2027. Carved in stone. The Father Guerrero letter exists. Seville Archive of the Indies. Signatura. Patronato 243R.7. Confirms the same date in 1563. The NASA Solar Prediction Study exists. Published 1978. Astrophysics Journal, Volume 2, 26. Predicts solar maximum convergence late December 2027. The Maya elders in Guatemala know. They're preparing. Their communities, their ceremonies, for the date their ancestors calculated. It's all there, documented, verified, publicly accessible if you look. And in 3 years, well, less than 3 now, December 21st, 2027, we'll know if they were right. If the sun releases a massive coronal ejection, if plasma clouds hit Earth's magnetic field, if power grids collapse, if satellites fail, if every electronic system suddenly stops working, global, simultaneous, then we'll know the Maya weren't predicting the end of the world. They were warning us about a reset, and we ignored them. Because someone convinced us to look at the wrong date. Final thing, the Tortuguero Monument. Remember Loop 3? The inscription that says, "He will arrive when Baktun 13 ends." Bolon Yokteku, God of creation and destruction. I found out what that means. Not a deity, not literally. The Maya used divine names for natural phenomena, like we say Mother Nature or forces of nature. Metaphorical language for physical events. Bolon Yokteku translates as 9 support gods. But the deeper meaning, it refers to 9 celestial markers, 9 astronomical points, planetary positions, solar alignment. 9 factors that must converge. When those 9 points align, when the positions match, the solar event triggers. The god arrives. Not a being, an event. The plasma serpent, the fire from the sun. The Maya calculated when all 9 factors converge simultaneously, found the cycle, tracked it back through history, forward to the next occurrence. The calculation requires 9th-level mathematics, tracking multiple orbital periods, planetary resonances, solar magnetic cycles, things that require computers to model accurately. The Maya did it with observation and stone calendars. Took generations, hundreds of years of accumulated data, refined over centuries. And they got it right, because they had to. Their civilization survived previous events, smaller ones. They learned, adapted, prepared for the big one. The 13 Baktun reset. That's what the calendar really tracks. Not time in the abstract, The convergence cycle. When all 9 factors align. When the serpent descends. December 21st, 2027. And the sealed Tortuguero monument, the part that's covered in preservation coating so nobody can examine it, that section contained the instructions. What to do when the event occurs, how to survive, how to rebuild. They sealed it, deliberately, so we wouldn't know. Look, I know how this sounds.
I know what you're thinking. Another conspiracy theory. Another doomsday prediction. We've heard it before. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the calculations are off. Maybe Father Miguel was mistaken. Maybe 7 dead researchers is coincidence. Maybe the Jade Plaque is misdated. Maybe everything. But ask yourself this. If there was a predictable, catastrophic event, a global infrastructure collapse, and you were the government, would you tell people? Would you warn them years in advance? Cause mass panic, economic collapse, social breakdown? Or would you quietly prepare, harden military systems, build shielded facilities, stock supplies, and let civilians think everything's fine until the moment it happens? Control the narrative, discredit the warning, point everyone toward a fake date, let it pass uneventfully. Then, when the real date comes, surprise, clean slate, rebuild with those who survive, those who prepared quietly, those in power. That's not conspiracy theory. That's strategy. Risk management, realpolitik. And if I'm right, if December 21st, 2027 brings what the Maya calculated, then every electronic device stops. No phones, no internet, no power, no communication. Instant dark age. You won't see this video afterward, won't be able to search for answers, won't know what happened. Just lights out, silence, and the slow realization that everything changed. Unless you prepare now. Store physical resources, learn practical skills, understand what's coming. Reduce dependence on technology. Build resilience. Or don't. Dismiss this. Laugh. Go back to normal life. That's fine. That's your choice. But when December 2027 comes, and I really hope I'm wrong about this, but when it comes, you'll remember where you heard it first, and you'll know the Maya tried to warn us. We just weren't listening. But there's one piece I haven't told you yet, the most important piece. Because the plasma event, the electromagnetic storm, the grid collapse, that's not the worst part. There's something else in Father Miguel's book, in the later pages, the section he translated last, the part he almost didn't show me. The prophecy doesn't end with the serpent's arrival. It continues, describes what happens after, during the darkness, the 3 days between the event and when things stabilize. The Maya called it the time when the veil thins. 3 days, December 21st through December 24th, winter solstice through Christmas Eve, when Earth's magnetic field destabilizes, when solar plasma interacts with the magnetosphere, when electromagnetic fields fluctuate wildly. And, according to the prophecy, during those 3 days, something else happens. Something they couldn't explain with astronomy or mathematics. Something they witnessed during previous events, documented, warned about. But I can't tell you what it is here. Not yet. Because when Father Miguel translated that section, when he showed me what the Maya recorded, what they saw during the last reset 5,100 years ago, during those 3 days of magnetic chaos,
That's when I understood why they're so desperate to keep this hidden. It's not just about infrastructure collapse. It's not just about power grids and satellites. It's about what happens when Earth's protective magnetic field fails. When solar radiation floods through. When the barrier between... I'm sorry. I have to stop here. Because someone just knocked on my door 3 times, hard, authoritative. And I didn't hear a car pull up. I need to hide this footage, upload it, get it out before... The knocking stopped. Now I hear voices, multiple people outside. They're not saying anything, just waiting. I'm uploading this now, raw, unedited. If you're watching this, it worked. It got out. Share it, download it, mirror it, before they scrub it.
And if I don't post part 3, if this ends here, you'll know they found me. But the information is out there. The photographs, the evidence, spread across multiple servers, multiple sources. It can't be fully deleted anymore. The truth about 2027. What's coming? What happens during those 3 days? Find it. Research it. Prepare. The knocking stopped. I waited. 30 seconds. A minute. Silence. Then I heard it. Car engine. Starting up. Driving away. Gravel crunching. Fading into distance. I looked through the window. Carefully. Nobody there. No vehicles. Just empty street. Twilight. Normal. Maybe it was nothing. Neighbor. Delivery person, wrong address. Mind playing tricks after everything I'd learned. Or maybe it was a warning. Let me know they're watching. Let me upload this. Let the information spread. Because they already have what matters. Father Miguel's book. The primary source. And without it, without the physical artifact, everything I say is just claims. Photographs can be faked. Translations disputed, dismissed. They let me live because dead researchers create martyrs. Living researchers who can't prove their claims? Those just look crazy. But I have the photographs, the translations, the evidence trail. It's enough. Has to be. So let me tell you what I learned. What Father Miguel showed me in those final pages. What happens during the 3 days when the veil thins? Because this is why they hide it. Not the infrastructure collapse, not the economic disruption. This, what the Maya documented, what they witnessed. What happens to human consciousness when Earth's magnetic field fails. The human brain runs on electricity. Neurons fire, electrochemical signals, creating thoughts, memories, perception. Everything you experience, it's electrical activity in your skull. And that electrical activity exists within Earth's magnetic field. Always has. For the entire history of human evolution, we developed inside this field, our neurology shaped by it, adapted to it. The magnetic field does more than protect us from solar radiation. It filters, it screens, blocks certain frequencies. Electromagnetic noise from space, cosmic radiation, background electromagnetic chaos that would overwhelm our nervous systems. Think of it like noise-canceling headphones for your brain. The field blocks certain frequencies, lets through only what we need, what we can process, what allows us to function. But when the field fails, when solar plasma disrupts it, when it weakens or fluctuates wildly, the filter drops. And suddenly your brain receives everything. Frequencies you've never perceived before. Electromagnetic signals that were always there but blocked. Your neurons start firing in response to inputs they're not designed to handle. The Maya documented this. During previous solar events, smaller ones, precursor storms,
They recorded what people experienced when the field destabilized. Father Miguel translated it carefully. The language was poetic, metaphorical, but the descriptions were consistent across multiple accounts, different time periods, different regions. They described seeing things, entities, presences, beings made of light, geometric patterns overlaying reality, visions shared by entire communities simultaneously. Not hallucinations, not individual delusions, collective experiences. Hundreds of people seeing the same things at the same time. They called them the Watchers, the ones who were here before, the shapes between. Not gods, not spirits. The Maya were specific about this. These were something else, something that exists in frequencies humans normally can't perceive, something that's always there, always has been, but invisible, filtered out by Earth's magnetic field. When the field drops, they become visible. And according to the prophecy, they're not passive observers.
they interact. The Maya recorded detailed accounts from the last major event. Not 5,100 years ago. They had no written records that far back, but from smaller events. Solar storms that caused temporary field disruption, lasting hours, sometimes days. During those times, people reported contact, communication, not through language, through direct mental transmission. Information downloaded into consciousness, knowledge given, warnings issued. The Maya learned mathematics from them, astronomy, architecture, that's what the accounts claim, during field disruptions. During the time when the veil thins, they received instruction, guidance, technical knowledge far beyond what their civilization should have possessed. That's how they calculated the cycles, how they tracked planetary movements with such precision, how they built structures aligned to astronomical events thousands of years in the future. They were taught during previous contact events. And the prophecy says it happens again. Every major cycle, every 13 baktuns. The field fails. The veil thins. Contact occurs. Information transfers. Civilization resets with new knowledge. That's the pattern. The Maya called it the renewal. Not destruction, transformation. The old age ends. The new age begins. And during the transition, during those 3 days, humanity receives an upgrade. But here's the problem. Modern humans aren't prepared. The Maya prepared. They trained, practiced meditation, altered consciousness, prepared their minds for what they'd perceive during field disruption, built temples designed to focus and channel the experience, created rituals to handle contact safely. We haven't. 7 billion people whose only experience with altered consciousness comes from drugs or entertainment, whose minds are filled with electronic noise and constant stimulation, whose nervous systems are already overstimulated and dysregulated. When the field drops, when the filter fails, when everyone suddenly perceives things they've never seen before, things their brains aren't trained to process, the psychological impact will be catastrophic. Mass panic, psychotic breaks, millions of people simultaneously experiencing what their minds interpret as demonic possession or alien invasion or divine judgment or complete detachment from reality. The infrastructure collapse will be manageable. Compared to that,
compared to 7 billion people losing their minds at once. That's what they're hiding. That's why the date had to be wrong, why the prophecy had to be discredited, why everyone who got close to the truth had to be silenced. Because you can't prepare people for this. You can't announce it, can't warn them. It would sound insane. And even if they believed you, even if they tried to prepare, how do you train 7 billion people in consciousness discipline in 5 years? You don't. So the strategy is simple.
Keep it quiet. Let it happen. Ride out the chaos. Whoever survives, whoever handles the experience without breaking, they rebuild. Stronger, changed, upgraded. Natural selection. Consciousness edition. Father Miguel's book contained instructions, preparation techniques, what the Maya did, how they trained their minds, how they approached contact safely. I photographed those pages, but I'm not going to share them publicly. Not yet. Not here. Because if I do, if I put consciousness techniques in a video about an upcoming catastrophic event, I'll be labeled a cult leader, dangerous, delusional. The information will be discredited immediately. Everything I've presented will collapse under the weight of that association. So I'm holding those pages back, for now. But they exist. And if you contact me, if you genuinely want to prepare, I'll share them privately, directly, person to person. Because some of you need to be ready, need to survive this intact. Need to maintain sanity when everyone around you is breaking down. You'll be the ones who rebuild, the ones who guide others through it, the ones who remember what happened and why. But first, let me close the loops, answer the questions I opened, show you how it all connects. Loop 1. Linda Schele's restricted files. I found someone who saw them before they were restricted. Graduate student at University of Texas, 1997. He was helping catalog Schele's materials after her death. He saw her calendar correlation research, her notes, her calculations questioning GMT. She'd found the same error I found, the same 14-year discrepancy. She calculated the correct end date, 2027. But she also found something else. Spanish colonial records, mentions of Maya priests who underwent consciousness training, who reported contact with beings of light during solar storms. She was connecting the calendar to the contact phenomenon. Building a case that the Maya weren't primitive astronomers. They were trained contactees. Her grant proposals weren't just about calendar correlation. They were about consciousness and astronomical events. Neurological effects of electromagnetic field disruption. That's why they were rejected. Too far outside acceptable scholarship. Too weird. Too dangerous. After she died, after her files were restricted, the graduate student tried to talk about what he'd seen, write a paper. His advisor shut him down, told him it would destroy his career before it started. He went into private sector, works in tech now, Silicon Valley. He contacted me after seeing my preliminary research online, confirmed everything. Linda Schele knew. She was building toward the same conclusion, and she died right before she could publish. Aneurysm, age 61. No family history, no warning signs, just sudden catastrophic brain hemorrhage. Loop 1 closed. Loop 2. Knorozov's buried correction. The Russian epigrapher who found the error in the Dresden Codex, who calculated the correct date,
whose paper disappeared from academic databases. I tracked down his family, nephew still living in Moscow. He inherited Knorozov's personal papers, including copies of everything he published, including the 1998 paper. Knorozov didn't just correct the date. He explained why the GMT correlation was wrong. Thompson, the researcher who established GMT, he had access to a complete Dresden Codex photocopy made before the water damage. He saw the undamaged glyph, the one that indicates the correct Baktun count. But Thompson published a reconstruction based on the damaged version, deliberately. Changed one symbol, one tiny modifier glyph, shifted the date by 14 years. Knorozov found Thompson's original field notes, archived in Cambridge. The notes showed Thompson knew the correct reading, wrote it down, then crossed it out, published the altered version instead.
Why would Thompson do that? Knorozov speculated. In his paper, he suggested Thompson was pressured, maybe government, maybe academic politics. The correct date, 2027, it must have conflicted with something, some agenda, some plan. Thompson died in 1975, took his reasons with him. But his alteration worked. Everyone used his correlation, nobody questioned it, until Knorozov, who published the proof, in Russian, in a journal nobody read, and then died the next year. Loop 2 closed. Loop 3, the sealed Tortuguero monument. I found the preservation technician who applied the coding. Mexican conservation specialist, retired now, living in Oaxaca. She didn't want to talk at first, but eventually, after I showed her what I knew, she confirmed it. She was ordered to seal the monument quickly. No documentation, no analysis, just coat it and lock in whatever was there. She asked why, was told it was emergency preservation, damage risk. Had to be done immediately. But she saw the inscription before coating it, saw the damaged section, the eroded glyphs. They weren't that damaged. She could still read parts of it. The section described what to do during the 3 days, how to prepare consciousness, how to remain centered when the veil thins, how to communicate with the watchers without losing your mind. Specific instructions, breathing techniques, mental focus points, physical postures. The kind of practical guidance you'd include if you wanted people to survive contact. She tried to photograph it before sealing it, but her camera malfunctioned. Battery died instantly. Backup camera too. Like something prevented documentation. Electromagnetic interference, maybe. She didn't know. So she sealed it, locked away the instructions, and they've been inaccessible ever since. But she remembers one phrase, burned into her memory because it was so specific, so clear despite the damage. Maintain the center.
The light beings mean no harm. They bring knowledge. Accept without fear. Reject without anger. You remain you. Instructions for contact, reassurance, practical mysticism written in stone. Now preserved under synthetic coating nobody can penetrate without destroying the original. Loop 3 closed. Loop 4. Modern Maya communities preparing. The elders know. They've maintained the oral tradition, passed down the stories, the techniques, the knowledge of what happens during the renewal. I spoke with 3 of them, through intermediaries, translators. They wouldn't talk on camera, wouldn't let me record, but they confirmed everything. Their communities are preparing, not with bunkers or supplies, with consciousness training, meditation, fasting, ceremony. They're teaching the young ones, preparing minds, building resilience, the way their ancestors did. They know about the infrastructure collapse, don't care much. Most of them live without electricity anyway, off-grid. Traditional ways. They'll survive the blackout fine. What they're preparing for is the contact, the 3 days, the visions. They want their people ready, want them trained. So when the Watchers appear, when reality shifts, when the veils thin, their communities remain intact, centered, functional. They said Western civilization will struggle because we've forgotten how to be still, how to hold our minds steady, how to perceive without panicking. We've outsourced consciousness to screens and entertainment and constant stimulation. When that all stops, when we're forced into silence, into direct perception of non-ordinary reality, most people will break. But the Maya will be ready. They've been ready for 500 years, just waiting for us to catch up. Loop 4 closed. Loop 5, NASA data and Dr. Robert Gentry. The NASA study from 1978, predicting solar maximum convergence in late December 2027. Multiple cycles aligning, peak activity.
Massive coronal mass ejection potential. I obtained the full study, not just the published summary, the complete technical report. 340 pages, dense astrophysics, solar magnetic field modeling, predictive algorithms. On page 287, there's a section, buried deep, about potential effects on Earth's magnetosphere. The report calculates field disruption duration, worst-case scenario, full magnetic field collapse for approximately 72 hours, 3 days. The report notes this would be unprecedented in modern history. No records of complete field failure lasting that long. Cites historical accounts of shorter events. 1859, the Carrington event. Telegraph systems caught fire. Auroras visible worldwide. Field disrupted for about 12 hours. People reported strange experiences during that event. Visions, disorientation, heightened intuition, mass reports of shared dreams. The reports were dismissed as hysteria. Electromagnetic sensitivity, psychological reaction to the spectacle. But NASA's report notes it, acknowledges it, in clinical language. Neurological effects from sustained exposure to unfiltered cosmic electromagnetic radiation remain poorly understood and merit further study. Translation: we don't know what happens to human consciousness during extended field failure. But something happens. The report recommends shielding critical infrastructure, hardening military communications, preparing contingencies for grid collapse, standard emergency planning. But there's one recommendation that stands out, buried in the appendix. Consider psychological preparation protocols for civilian population in high-risk scenarios involving extended magnetosphere disruption events. Consider preparing people's minds. They knew. In 1978, they knew this wasn't just about power grids. It was about consciousness, about what humans perceive when the filter drops. And Dr. Robert Gentry, one of the study's co-authors, he understood the Maya connection. He said so in his 1993 interview. The Maya tracked this, calculated it, prepared for it. Then he retired, stopped talking, died in a hiking accident in Colorado at age 79. Fell from a cliff. Nobody witnessed it. Body found 3 days later. Investigation ruled accidental. Case closed. Loop 5 closed. So there it is. All 5 loops, all connected, all pointing to the same conclusion. December 21st, 2027. Solar maximum. Coronal mass ejection.
Plasma storm hits Earth. Magnetic field collapses. 3 days of chaos. Infrastructure fails. That's the surface problem. Manageable. We've survived disasters before. But consciousness shifts. Perception changes. The veil thins. Contact occurs. That's the real crisis. The one we're not prepared for. The one they can't announce, can't prevent, can only hope we survive. 7 researchers knew.
7 researchers died. Their work suppressed, their evidence hidden, their warnings silenced. Father Miguel knew, tried to preserve the knowledge, got the book stolen, died hours after showing it to me. But the information escaped, through me, through this video, through you watching right now. They can't delete it all, can't suppress it completely. Not anymore. Too many copies, too many servers, too many people who've seen it, downloaded it, shared it. The truth is out, and now you have to decide what to do with it. Look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is all pattern recognition run amok. Maybe 7 dead researchers is just bad luck. Maybe Father Miguel was deluded. Maybe the Maya got it wrong. Maybe December 2027 comes and goes like 2012, and nothing happens, and I look like an idiot. I hope that's true. Genuinely. I hope I wasted your time. Hope you can laugh at this in 3 years. Mock me. Call me crazy. I'll accept that happily if it means I'm wrong. But if I'm right, if December 21st, 2027 brings what the Maya calculated, you need to be ready. Not with supplies, not with bunkers. Those help for the infrastructure collapse. But that's not what breaks people. What breaks people is the psychological shock, the sudden perception shift, the realization that reality is not what you thought it was, that there are things you can't see, that consciousness is more than brain chemistry, that contact is real. That's what destroys minds. That's what causes the psychotic breaks, the panic, the violence, the complete detachment from sanity. Unless you prepare. Here's what you can do. What the Maya did. What Father Miguel's book described. Simple techniques, no mysticism, no religion. Just practical consciousness training. First, learn to be still. Meditate. Sit in silence daily. Train your mind to remain calm when stimulation stops. When entertainment ends. When you're forced into direct experience of your own awareness. Most people can't handle 5 minutes of silence. Their minds panic, flood with thoughts, anxiety, restlessness. Fix that. Now. Before you're forced into 3 days of it. Second, practice sensory awareness. Pay attention to what you perceive. Really perceive, without judgment, without interpretation, just raw input, sights, sounds, sensations. Train yourself to observe without immediately categorizing, without fear response. This prepares you for perceiving things you don't have categories for, things that don't fit your model of reality. Third, separate identity from perception. Understand that what you see, what you experience, it's not who you are. You're the observer, not the observed. When you perceive something strange, something impossible, something that shouldn't exist, you remain centered. You don't collapse into it. Don't lose yourself. You stay you, watching, processing, maintaining core identity. The Maya spent years training this, generations. Their culture built around it.
We have 3 years. Less. It's not enough. But it's something. Do it. Start today, every day. Build the skill. Build the resilience. So when the moment comes, when the veil thins, when everyone around you is breaking down, you remain intact. You become one of the ones who rebuilds. And tell others, not everyone, not indiscriminately. You'll be labeled crazy, dismissed, mocked. Be selective. Find people who can hear it, who can hold the information without breaking, who can prepare without panicking. Build small communities, groups who know, who train together, who will support each other when it happens, because you'll need each other during the 3 days, during the chaos. Having even one other person who understands, who remains centered, it makes the difference between surviving intact and losing yourself completely. The Maya survived because they prepared together, communally. Villages trained as units. Nobody faced it alone. You shouldn't either. Final thing, the ceramic vessel, the one from El Mirador, the one they won't open. The formula inside, the electromagnetic shielding compound. I don't know if it's real, if it works, if ancient Maya actually developed protection against solar plasma effects. But Father Miguel said it's there, said the prophecy describes it, said that's why they sealed it away. If you have access, if you work in archaeology or museum curation or have connections to Guatemalan authorities, try to get it opened. Try to analyze it. Publish the results before they can stop you. Because if the formula works, if the Maya actually solved electromagnetic shielding with minerals and plant extracts, we need that. For protecting critical systems, for preserving some technology through the event, for maintaining some communication capability during the blackout. Long shot. Probably impossible. But try. Try everything. Because 3 years is not enough time to prepare adequately. But it's enough to try. Enough to build some resilience. Enough to warn some people, save some people, preserve some knowledge. Enough to matter. December 21st, 2027. Winter solstice. 3 years from now. Mark it. Remember it. Prepare for it. The Maya spent 5,000 years calculating this date, tracking cycles, recording evidence, trying to warn future generations, trying to help us survive what they survived, what they knew would return. We laughed at them, dismissed them, called them primitive, said they predicted the end of the world and got it wrong. But they didn't predict the end. They predicted a renewal, a transformation, a reset. They calculated when. They described what happens. They provided instructions for survival. We just looked at the wrong date. Someone made sure we did. Changed the numbers, suppressed the correction, killed the researchers, sealed the evidence. Let 2012 pass quietly, so we dismiss the whole thing. And now, the real date approaches. And nobody's ready. Nobody's prepared. Nobody even knows. Except you. You know now. You've seen the evidence. You've followed the trail. You've heard the prophecy. You understand what's coming. So what will you do? Dismiss it? Forget it? Go back to normal life? Pretend you never watched this? That's fine. That's your choice. Free will. I respect it. Or will you prepare? Train your mind. Warn others. Build resilience. Become one of the ones who survives intact, who helps others through it, who rebuilds afterward with knowledge instead of chaos. That's also your choice. But choose actively. Choose consciously. Don't let the choice be made for you by default. by distraction, by normalcy bias, by the comfort of denial. Because 3 years passes quickly, and December 2027 is coming. Ready or not. I'm going dark after this, deleting accounts, changing locations, disappearing into background noise. They know who I am. They've made that clear. I've said what I needed to say, shared what I needed to share. Now survival becomes priority. This video is my testimony, my warning, my contribution to collective survival. I've done what Father Miguel did, what Linda Schele tried to do, what 7 researchers died doing. I've told the truth. Now it's yours. Share it, download it, mirror it, spread it everywhere. Make copies, physical media, digital backups, multiple platforms. They'll try to scrub it, flag it, demonetize it, shadow ban it, make it hard to find. Fight that. Keep it visible. Keep it accessible. Re-upload it when it gets taken down. Post it on every platform, every forum, every community. Get it translated, subtitled, dubbed. Make it reach everyone it can reach. Some people will mock. Some will dismiss. Some will call you crazy for sharing it. Let them. You're not here to convince everyone, just to inform those who can hear it. Those are the ones who matter. Those are the ones who survive. 3 years, train your mind, build community, prepare consciousness. Stay centered. Remember who you are. And when December 21st, 2027 arrives, when the lights go out, when the veil thins, when you see things you never imagined possible, when everyone around you is losing their minds, stay calm, stay present, stay you. The Watchers mean no harm. They bring knowledge. They've done this before, they'll do it again. This is renewal, not destruction. Transformation, not ending. The Maya understood. They prepared. They survived. They tried to tell us. Now we know. Now we prepare. Now we survive. See you on the other side. December 21st, 2027. The day the serpent descends. The day the veil thins. The day everything changes. Be ready.